Welcome back to Family Bible Time. This week we will be covering the story of Hagar and Ishmael this week. But let us jump into our quiz where God promised Abraham a child. Enjoy.
What did Abraham doubt God about? Having a son. Who was Abraham's inheritor going to be? Eliza of Damascus. What was Eliza's title in Abraham's family? Slave. What did God show Abraham? The stars. How did Abraham respond? He believed.
It is now time for our story. And our story this week is from Genesis 16. I'm going to summarize the first 8 verses, and then I'm going to read verses 9 to 15 of Genesis 16. So here we have Abraham and Sarai after God had promised them a child that we learnt last week. They haven't had a child yet, and they are very elderly. They are very old at this point in the story. They're not sure they're going to have a child themselves. So Sarai tells Abraham to take her servant and lay with her. Abraham does this, and Hagar becomes pregnant. This leads to Hagar mistreating Sarai, and Sarai probably feeling a little bit jealous towards her as well. So Hagar runs away. Where she's ran to, she ends up meeting an angel. And this is where I'm going to start reading from the Bible. The angel of the Lord said to her, "Go home to your mistress and obey her." The angel of the Lord also said, "I will give you so many descendants, they cannot be counted." The angel also said to her, "You are now pregnant, and you will have a son. You will name him Ishmael, because the Lord has heard your cries. Ishmael will be like a wild donkey. He will be against everyone, and everyone will be against him. He will attack all his brothers. The slave girl gave a name to the Lord who spoke to her. She said to him, "You are God who sees me." This is because she said to herself, "Have I really seen God who sees me?" So the well there was called Be'er Lahai Roi. It is between Kadesh and Bered. Hagar gave birth to a son for Abram, and Abram named him Ishmael. Abram was 86 years old when Hagar gave birth to Ishmael. And that is our story for this week. So in this story, we revisit two people of the faith, of the Christian faith, of the Muslim faith, of the Jewish faith. Two great people who are credited with faith in God and trust in God. Now, here though, they also show doubt towards God, because God has promised them they will have a child, but they're so old that they're not sure they will. So they take matters into their own hands, and Sarai says, "Go lay with Hagar." Abram does this, Hagar gets pregnant, Sarai and Abram are like, "Hey, here's the child." Hagar was a little bit upset with, well, not even just a little bit, she was upset and angry with Sarai and Abram, that she looked at her with, in some translations it says contempt, but I like to use the word she mistreated. But also, I think Sarai was probably a little bit jealous that Hagar was now pregnant with her husband's baby. So we have some doubt and jealousy going on. Doubt in God, jealousy towards others for actions you told them to do. So Hagar runs away. So in that first instance, in that first little bit before Hagar runs away, I think we can learn that we need to trust God. Now what Sarai and Abram did different this time was they took things into their own hands. They decided to do things their own way. Whereas previously, when they were having doubts, Abram went to God and said, "I'm upset, I'm angry, I'm annoyed, we haven't had a child and I've followed you and you haven't delivered on your promise." And he was honest with God. And God comforted him, God reassured him, God showed him the stars and said, "You will be as numerous as the stars." But this time they took things into their own hands. And it arguably didn't go great, because they ended up having a bad relationship with one of their servants. And what does God tell us to do? Love him and love others. I don't think this was loving others, and I don't think this was loving God. So we can learn that when we have these doubts, again, we need to trust God and be honest about how we're feeling. Now in the second bit, we have Hagar meeting an angel of the Lord. And here we can see that God speaks with everyone. With master, with servants, with the higher class, with the lower class. God meets everyone where they are at, no matter how far they have ran away or gone from him or gone from their friends. God will speak to all of us. And God will comfort all of us when we are angry and upset and feel alone and afraid. God will comfort us, and that comfort that he gives us will lead us to making good and better decisions. And ultimately, I would say that out of this bad situation for Hagar, God brings something good. When we trust God, we can see the good things that come from it. Sometimes they don't happen to us though, but we just have to trust God and hope and pray that the good things come from us being obedient to God. So 2 things to learn. When we are doubting God or feeling angry or upset or alone, we are to be honest with God about how we're feeling and let Him comfort us. Secondly, we are to trust God, and the good things will come. Maybe not to us, but they will happen.
I wonder how you deal with emotions like loneliness, fear, and anger. I wonder which character in the story you think you are like. I wonder how God comforts you. I wonder what you need to tell God.
So the prayer activity this week is one where I want you as a family to write out all the different emotions you can think of. You can draw them, you can write them, and I want you to just think of all the emotions that you are feeling and all the emotions that you have felt. So have a think of those. Once you've written them down, I want you to then chat with God about the different emotions, about what you do potentially when you feel them. So for me, I know sometimes when I'm getting a bit angry and frustrated, I can sometimes clench my fist and get really tight. When I'm upset, I try and hold back crying because I don't like crying all the time. Yeah, so there are different things we can see. When I'm happy, I tend to smile quite a bit and my voice kind of changes a little bit. Yeah, so think about the happy, the excited, the fun, the funny, like those emotions, and also think about the sad, the angry, the lonely, the upset emotions. Write them all down, chat with God about what you are like when you have them, and chat with God about how you're feeling at the moment. Once you've done that, spend some time catching from God as to what He wants to say to you about how you're feeling in that moment. And it might be that you're feeling happy and He says, "You're great and I love you, keep going." It might be that you're feeling sad and He says, "I'm here for you, I'm with you, I love you." I tend to find whenever I catch from God, I tend to find I get the words, "I love you," a lot. And so I wonder if it's the same for you or if it's different. But that's our prayer activity this week. Thank you very much for joining with Family Bible Time this week. It's been great to have you. The challenge this week is to learn again to be honest with God and to trust God, which are the two messages we've had the last couple of weeks with Abraham's story. So thank you for joining us and have a great week. Bye-bye.